she's pumping out about 85 million gallons of water every single day here. Now all this water is coming out of Florida Aquifer. It goes throughout the state of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, as well as parts of Alabama. Now they say it takes 20 years for the rain to touch the soil in the Carolinas and come out of these beds today. Now our local rainfall does help. About 8% will manage its way into our aquifer. The rest of that rainfall will dictate our water levels here at the park. Now we've had 3 hurricanes in 3 months, and hopefully we don't get a 4th hurricane, although it looks like it is heading our way. Now, right now our water level is about 2.5 to 3 feet higher than they are. We're actually very happy about that. We're in desperate need of this water. They say right now we are losing 50 million gallons of water a day here. Now the reason we are losing so much water is we have 3,600 people move to the state of Florida every single week, and right now we're losing 120 acres due to development every single day. So if more people tap into that aquifer for their well water, that's where that 50 million gallons of water is disappearing to. Now before we leave here, if you guys look down there between those rocks, you guys see that area where that sand, shell, and crushed limestone is swirling around? Now, for those of you guys not from Florida, that right there, that is the closest we're going to get to a snowstorm here in the Sunshine State. I'm very okay with that.
He's so angry.
Now as we work our way out of here onto our next spot, if you guys look up into our trees here, on pretty much every tree we have here at the park, we have this gray material hanging down on this one of its branches. Now, can anybody here tell me what this gray material is called?
Moss.
Yeah, Spanish moss. Now, a few fun facts about Spanish moss is 1, it is not Spanish. 2, not even moss. It's actually an air plant, and its closest relative is a pineapple. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Now, does anybody here drive a Ford? You raise your hand. I'm not here to make fun of you. But Henry Ford, he fell in love with Spanish moss. He was one of the first and one of the only commercial utilizers of it. Now, he used it to stuff the seats of his Model A Ford. Now, for those of you here that have not had the privilege of playing with Spanish moss, there is a bug that lives inside there called red bugs or chiggers. They have a mean and nasty bite that's going to leave you itching for about a week. Now, those bugs made their way into those seat cushions, and they started the very first automotive recall in U.S. history. Those bugs, those seats. Now, GM, they had a field day. They called it the new Ford Itch, and they ran that slogan all the way to the early 60s. Now, as it comes to here, how many of you guys have seen the TV series Sea Hunt with Lloyd Bridges? All right. What about Smokey and the Bandit, the boat chase scene at the end of the movie? There we go. Tom Cruise and his movie called Legends. Now, all 3 of those are actually filmed right inside this little lagoon. Now, with Tom and his movie, this is where he ends up jumping off a cliff into the water, chasing down a ring. Now, I'm still pretty new here. I have found the water he jumps into, but I've yet to find the cliff he jumps off of. I'm still looking for it. But this dock here to the right is the original dock of Sea Hunt. Now, we have over 150 episodes filmed here. And if you guys get a chance to rewatch any of those or watch them for the first time, if you guys pay close attention to when these guys jump into the water, you'll notice that half the time those saltwater fish magically turn into freshwater fish. Now, with Smokey and the Bandit, this is where the boat chase scene comes roaring through and splashes everybody on dock. Same dock is used. Now, we do have a trail that takes you from the boat dock to the Sea Hunt dock. It's about 3/4 of a mile. It's completely paved. And if you guys came out here to try to get a glimpse of our monkeys, over here on the right, this is where I usually tell you is going to be your best spot. However, these guys have been hanging out on our Ross Allen boardwalk the last few days. So if you guys come out here to get a glimpse of those guys, I would start your search over there. Now, for those of you that do not know about our monkeys, these guys were introduced back in 1939 by a gentleman named Colonel Toohey. He purchased 6 monkeys. He put them out on Monkey Island. The original 6, they disappeared overnight. Now, the following weekend, he ended up purchasing 6 more. Now, those 6, they stayed the entire week until the week disappeared. And those 12,
Names are blocking.
1,000. Now, when the state purchased the property in 2012, they removed 1,300 monkeys. Now, we still have over 500 running around here. They've been seen as far south as Leesburg, as far north as Gainesville, and as far east as Palm Coast. Now, if you bump into these guys today, I need you to do me a favor, and I need you to keep your distance, all right? They are not that cute. They are not that cuddly. They have phenomenal aim, and you do not want to know what they're throwing at you. Oh yeah, it smells horrid. Now, the state of Florida was the only state to have wild monkeys. We have 3 colonies here. We have one here in Ocala, one in Pensacola, and the other in Fort Lauderdale. But as of last weekend, you can now find wild monkeys in the Carolinas. I wish those guys the best of luck.
Somebody released.
Now, you guys got wild monkeys in Puerto Rico now, right? Yeah, they broke out and they're wreaking havoc. Once they get loose, no stopping them. Now, if you guys start to look out the right-hand side of the vessel, through these trees across the field, you're going to get a glimpse of the Twin Oaks Mansion. Now, this was our music hall back in the day. We had everyone from Jimi Hendrix, Willie Nelson, Kenny Loggins, the Styx, the Beach Boys, Travis Tritt, even Jeff Fox.
To the right of that was where the deer range was at.
Yeah, we had our first concert in 15 years last February. It went extremely well. So the state has finally reopened the park and having concerts again. And I'm hearing rumors we got some coming up at the beginning of the year. Now this winter, I am super excited because rumor has it we're going to start doing movie night out here. And they're going to start some 200 movies filmed here at the park. So hopefully we're going to have like James Bond night, Creature of Black Lagoon night, Tarzan night. You guys got to get back out and watch Who since none of y'all have seen Who. So it should be a pretty good time. Now that trail that takes you from the boat dock to the Sea Hunt dock will take you in and around the mansion if you guys want a close look. And coming up on the right here, it looks like we got a handful of turtles hanging out here on this log.
All the turtles.
Now, does anybody here know what you call a turtle on a log? You call it a turtle on a log. Now, does anybody here know what you call 2 or more turtles on a log? Very close, very close. You call it a shell station.
Ah.
And I regret to inform you that those dad jokes only get worse from here. But these guys are sliders, also known as the Florida cooter. We got 3 kinds out here. We have red, yellow, and orange. Now we also have snapping turtles here at the park. We have a common and alligator. We have a handful of soft shells, and we also have a loggerhead musk turtle. Now, these boats have been electric since 1935. Our last boat was converted back in 1940. Now, back in the day, each captain had about 4 to 5 vessels to maintain. You get 1 tour, 1 charge per boat per day. Nowadays, if we charge these every night, we get about 3 days with the tours out of them. Each boat has 16 lead-acid batteries weighing roughly 250 pounds each. Now, this February, we're hoping to get Tesla to come back out here and switch these boats over to lithium-ion. And that's going to lighten up these boats quite a bit. It gives a little extra pep to our step. Now that big boat you guys saw on the boat dock, the Chief Pataki Betty May Tiger Jumper, she's our handicap accessible vessel. And she has 3 of those large Tesla batteries inside her. The same ones you can put inside the garage for your house. So hopefully this spring, I'll get one for this guy. Now coming up on the right is where usually I show off a pretty large gator slide. About 9 times out of 10, I have a 10-foot gator out here named Alberta hanging out. But if you guys look over here to the right, you can see where that down tree is. So her favorite spot is currently under renovation. Chances of seeing her are slim. But we still have to have that gator talk while we're out here. So how many of you guys here were born and raised in Florida? Oh wow, we got 4 of us? That's a lot on a boat. We are a dying breed. There's not a lot of us around anymore. Now, how many of you guys have recently moved to Florida in the last 5 to 10 years? Congratulations, y'all are local now. 2 weeks? Almost local. You'll get there. Now, how many guys are down here visiting or on vacation? Alright, this one is for you guys, alright? Now, the easiest way I can put it is any body of water here in the state of Florida, whether it's a puddle at a gas station or you're hanging out on the beach, they all have gators inside of it.
That might have been one.
Now, when it comes to swimming, if you're looking for a safe place to swim and you've not seen the gators, but you are curious if there's some around, there's a very easy way to find out. Now, what I want you to do is walk down to the water's edge. I want you to take your hand and place your hand inside the water. I want you to splash it back and forth a few times, all right? Now, hopefully, when you take your hand out of the water, it's going to look like this and not like this. Right? Now, if it does look like this, I want you to take a closer look at those fingers. If you happen to notice that any of those fingers are wet, well, congratulations, you guys have alligators. Now, I wish I could tell you it gets better, but it actually gets worse. if you happen to lick any of those fingers, it is just a little bit salty. Not only do you still have alligators, but you also have sharks. Anytime you enter the water here in the Sunshine State, you are playing a game of Jumanji, make sure you keep your eyes open. These guys can stay in salt water for about 3 to 4 days before they start to get sick. Now, it does also get worse if you really go down south. Now, those pythons running around the state, we do not have any here on the Silver River yet, but they're getting close. They're in Kissimmee right now, about an hour south of here. Now, don't worry, that is not going to be a Florida problem for much longer. Pretty soon, it's going to be a Georgia problem. Unfortunately, they're working their way up there. Now, on the bright side, we do have something working its way up the coast that's supposed to be here, and that is the American crocodile. They almost went extinct. We don't find them in the Everglades. The closest group of them is now in Mosquito Lagoon and around the Banana and Indian River. So your next trip to the Silver River, you actually might see 1 or 2 of those swimming around here. But if you guys look over here to the right, this statue here is our Chief Osceola statue. Now, Chief Osceola was a local native, half Scottish. His father taught him how to read and write English at a very early age. Now, after the First Seminole War, the federal government came in with a peace treaty stating that they wanted peace, they're stopping their expansion west, and that they were open to trade. However, when translated to the chief, it said quite the opposite. It said the natives would forfeit all rights to the land, agree to hike a trail from here to Oklahoma, and live the rest of their days on the reservation. Now, obviously, the chief was very upset, so he sent Osceola out with a very clear message. And if you look over there to the right, you can see exactly what he did. He returned that treaty, he laid it out, he pulled out his knife, and he stabbed that treaty, therefore killing the contracts. Now, to this date, the Seminoles have not signed any treaties or contracts with the federal government. Illegally, they are still at war today. That's why they get the nickname the Unconquered. Well, unless they're playing Georgia on Saturday. Well, that's a different story. Do we have any Georgia fans here on the boat? Sir, I want to apologize to you now. I think you like that joke. The next joke, not so much. Now, for our next stop, we're going to be coming up to our head spring called Mammoth. Now, she is another first magnitude spring. This is the only place in the world where you have 2 first magnitudes in the same spring run. Now, she is the largest artesian spring in the Western Hemisphere, and she's only a few square feet shy of being the world's largest. Currently, Italy holds this record.
Right here too.
Now, Mammoth, she sits at 55 feet deep. She is 65 feet wide, and historically, she pumps out about 550 million gallons of water every single day. Now, that is enough water to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool about once every 2 to 3 minutes. Now, she makes up 2/3 of all the water flow here on the Silver River. All the springs combined here add up to 850 million gallons of water produced here daily. And it only takes about 6 days for the water to leave here and enter the Atlantic Ocean. Now, from here, it's going to travel down the Silver River to the Ocklawaha, travel up the Ocklawaha to the St. Johns River. From there, continue traveling north to Jacksonville off the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the Ocklawaha River and the St. Johns River are one of the few rivers in the world that flows south to north. And does anybody here know why that is?
No.
It's because Georgia sucks. Shots fired. Now, sir, I think you're great. It's just your football team I have issues with. But if you guys look beneath the glass down there to the entrance of the cave, if this cave happens to look familiar to any of you, it is because back in the day, this cave was actually used to hide a nuclear torpedo. Oh yeah. You guys didn't see it? It's kind of a big deal. Oh yeah. Sean Connery was here. Never Say Never, James Bond, right down there. Now, we had 3 James Bond films here in the park, but don't worry, that giant green anaconda that comes out and attacks James, the Moonraker, ends up coming out of these bushes right behind me. Now, unfortunately, she no longer lives here, but she was a real anaconda. She did live here at the park, and she's part of our Ross Allen reptile exhibit we had here back in the day. Now, we have all kinds of exotic reptiles here. We have alligator wrestling, and we were one of the first to start milking venomous snakes for anti-venom. Now, before we were doing that, the University of Florida, they would come out here and do blood samples on all our new hires and patiently wait for these new guys to be bitten by one of our poisonous snakes and come back out and do another blood test on them. That is a second job here at the park I am glad I do not have. Now, for our final stop, we got 3 more statues. They represent Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. Now, if you guys have a phone or a camera, I recommend getting out, trying to get a picture of these guys. We have some changes into the park and revolves around them. Now, earlier in the tour, I mentioned a restaurant. And if you happen to find yourself inside that restaurant, you will notice we have a full bar. Now, we are working with the state on bringing some breweries and distilleries to the park and doing some booze cruises here in the near future. Now, if that happens, these guys down here, their days will become numbered. They will no longer be Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. They'll turn into Jack, Jim, and Jose. Now, these guys were originally introduced back in 1969 for the Island 5 series starring Bill Cosby. We have over 30 statues down here in the Lost City of Lambs. Now, we got to keep these three, and these three were also used in Moonraker, as well as Never Seen Never James Bond. They are 7 feet tall. They're 38 feet wide. And if anybody feels like to dive off this pizza oven and get a
The
sub,
three guys.
y'all are welcome.
Yeah.
Just know that the park rangers and I, we do not share the same sense of humor. Now, if you do really want that selfie, we do have two of these guys in our hallway between our snack shack and our ballroom, as well as the original costume to the creature, the Black Lagoon.
You have to stand around.
Now, while we spin around these statues, excuse me, does anybody here have any final questions for me about the park, its wildlife, the vessels, things like that? Listen,
What happened to the huge catfish that used to be here years
well,
ago?
once we stopped feeding them, they disappeared. Now, there is one, I forgot his name, he's like 40, 50 pounds. He's got a check mark on his forehead. He hangs out in Blue Springs now. Yes, sir. Now, unfortunately, guys, this does conclude our tour of Springs. I appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with me a little bit. But a few things before we crash into this dock over here. And yes, I do mean crash. You were all warned before getting on this boat that I am the new guy. That is on game. There's going to be a little bit of a bump. I would take this time to gather up your loved ones and belongings. Anything left on the vessel after collision will be sold back to you for twice what you paid for it. Now, if you enjoy the time on the water, and you guys would like to participate in the oldest tradition here on the Silver River, this glass moving through the entire time happens to be the world's largest tip jar. It has only been disguised as a vessel since 1876. Now, if anybody here does reviews, go easy on me. My name's Captain Reed. Like I said, we've been doing this for about 3 months now, almost 4 months. But if this is the worst thing you guys have done all week, and I did not live up to your expectations, you all can call me Captain Morgan. Feel free to get the all off your chest, all online. I'll probably never read it. Alright, guys, 2 more of the smaller bumps coming up. Now, while